presents Scratch a Track,
the podcast where we debate which track to scratch off some of the most known and unknown albums of all time.
We live in an era of singles.
This is an album.
People no longer listen to an album for the work it truly is.
It kind of defines a band.
It's just not something that people relate to nowadays.
We've all gotten the dreaded.
It started out as a game.
Which track on the album would you scratch out if you had to? Well, hello again, everyone. Another episode of Scratch a Track presented by the Dude and Grim Show. I am the Dude. He is Grim. How you doing there, Grimmer?
I'm doing.
Yeah. So we have a. We've kind of been mixing it up a little bit. We've been, the first, I think, we did like kind of more classic rock, classic albums. We threw a little OK Computer in there. And now we're going to be going into, I think, one of our favorite time periods in music, and that is the grunge era.
Absolutely, dude.
Would that be accurate to say that's one of your favorite eras?
Oh, how could I deny that, dude? I couldn't. I mean, that's when we were coming up. That was it.
Yeah.
I mean, those were the bands, and aside from just us coming up, I feel like, and I think a lot of people would share the sentiment that was like a resurgence of real rock and roll at that time. Yep. I mean, you had bands that were making like real rock albums, and now they may have been different from their predecessors, it was something that was certainly unique to what had come before them in the previous decade.
Yeah, and I'm probably going to piss a lot of people off by saying this, but not only, you're right, not only was it unique, but also it was very authentic.
Oh, absolutely.
It was
absolutely.
These guys were just being themselves. They weren't, and believe me, the 80s rock and hair bands, the time and place for that, absolutely. And I can appreciate a lot of those working songs, but you also had a lot of bands who, dude, they're just running around on stage and, spandex pants and not really making music, not making albums.
Oh, absolutely agree. This was a time period of something different.
Yeah.
And it was evident in the albums that were released during that time. And, subsequently, a lot of the albums we will talk about will be from this period. But this is the first.
Right. Yeah. And it's interesting. We'll just get out of the way. Today, we'll be talking about the Stone Temple Pilots' Purple album, which is their second album. And just kind of like we seem to have done with every other podcast we've done here. We're definitely not going in chronological order.
No, but that's okay because this album, I think, and not that I matter or you matter, but I mean, at least to me, this album made more of an impact than the previous album that they had released, and in many ways subsequent albums that they released, and also compared to a lot of other things that had been released at that time. I mean, this was just it was a significant mark.
Yeah, and one thing they did is that, they're a band. I think people don't maybe talk about it enough, but their sound really evolved.
Oh, absolutely.
If you look at Core, I mean, Core's a good just rock album. It had hits on it. You have Plush, you have Creep, Cracker Man, Wicked Garden, Sex Type Thing. I mean, dude, those songs are some really good songs. But initially, they kind of got, from everything I've read, they kind of got a little bit of a bad rap. People were saying, they were trying to sound like Pearl Jam or Scott Weiland's vocals, where he was kind of ripping off Eddie Vedder.
Yeah, okay. And I can see that. I mean, there was kind of a trend at the time.
Yeah, there was. But I mean, that just, when this Purple album came out, all of that to me has to go out the window.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Core and Purple aren't even close into the to the sound and the type of music, and they really mixed it up and changed it up a lot. And Scott Weiland's vocals range greatly from song to song.
I absolutely agree, and I feel like aside from the comparison to Pearl Jam, I don't know that you can compare this album to anything else that really came out during this time period. No. To me, it is completely unique, and it stands on its own. It just really does.
It does. Yeah. Well, it was released in June 7th, 1994. Which is actually, a few months after Kurt Cobain passed away, which is kind of interesting because Nirvana was big and they were popular and everything. And then, and then this, so he passes away, and then STP comes out with their second album. So I wouldn't say STP was really maybe a late bloomer, but they definitely had a longer career, although it had many ups and downs. It's been pretty well documented. But I read that they recorded this album in a month, and that's pretty cool. I think it's one of those cases where, and now you may have some information on this, I don't know, but we've seen the video where they're recording like Pretty Penny in a living room. And so I don't know if they recorded this album in a house or what.
That part I don't exactly know, but what I do know is that I see that Big Empty was recorded May 25th of 93, and Loungefly was recorded July 12th of 93, and then the rest of the album was recorded in March of 94. So like, it one of those deals that I don't think is unique to them as a band, where, they had a couple of songs that they recorded, and then, they probably got inspired and recorded the rest of them, and then decided to make it an album.
Sure. And I think that's how a lot of bands will do it. It's like you have a song and you're in between tours or something. You got some free time. Hey, let's, we got these tracks. Let's put it down.
Yeah. I don't know what that's like, but it sounds like it makes sense.
Yeah. Right. It does. I think it makes sense to me. So it was released and went to number one, right away. So although maybe some critics and people were a little apprehensive about them at times, like they sold records, and it sold it had been out for 4 months and it had sold 3 million copies. Like, just exploded, man.
I mean, all I can remember is, let's see, it was released in 94, so I was 13. So I was, I don't know what grade. I was either in 7th or 8th grade. But I remember buying this album immediately. I mean, what is the track that I want to I mean, Vaseline was on MTV. Yeah. Because this is, again, back when MTV used to play music videos. Vaseline was on MTV. Loved that song. And then the other big hit from the album is Interstate Love Song, and that was also on MTV. And I remember, like, as a kid, my parents came in my room and were like, they wanted to make sure that the things that I was listening to were not like too crazy or far out there. And I
kill your parents.
Yeah, exactly. And I played them Interstate Love Song, and they were like, "Oh, this seems quite okay." And and from that, I mean, that for me, that just like kind of, I kept listening to it forever because obviously there was no issue with it. But I mean,
sure.
One thing that's interesting about this is I think about we've talked about in some other albums, and I know that this will come up in albums to come, is mainstream radio ruining a song because they just play the shit out of it.
Play it to death. Yeah.
It's going to come up. But it's interesting because Interstate Love song, I felt like had the shit played out of it, so to speak.
Yep.
But if I listen to it now, I still think it's a great song.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it is. It was one of the singles, I think. Yeah. Vaseline, Interstate Love song, and Big Empty. Those were like the three real singles from the album, and maybe Pretty Penny. I mean, I don't know if that got released as a single or not, but I know I
don't remember hearing Pretty Penny on the radio, but I mean, I can tell you, I remember hearing a lot, and even now, if you listen to radio that's like alternative radio, you'd still hear Vaseline in Interstate Love song.
Yeah.
I still like them both. I think I like Vaseline more because I think I like what Vaseline has to say more.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I think that like I could listen to Vaseline like on repeat for like a probably a day and not get bored of it.
Yeah. It's a great song. I mean, well, maybe we should just start getting into the tracks here a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
I mean, there's really no controversy. I mean, this wasn't one of those classic albums that had crazy controversy in terms of the cover art or whatever. The cover art was just some kind of I don't know
how to describe
Japanese.
It's an Asian baby riding a dragon.
Yeah.
I'm sure it meant something very profound at the time.
I have seen different versions of the cover that don't depict that.
Oh, really?
Huh. Yeah, I have. But not anymore. I mean, that was something I saw in the past, and yeah. I mean, the cover is the cover.
Yeah, they've actually come out with, for the real fans, the true fans, they've come out with a super deluxe version. So it's 3 CDs. You can actually get a super deluxe version on vinyl as well, but it's 3 discs, and it has all the tracks of the original album remastered. Then the second disc is, kind of like early versions, some acoustic versions, demos, that type of stuff. They have like they covered Dancing Days by Led Zeppelin. And then they have like a couple of live acoustic versions.
Oh yeah. It looks like they got Andy Warhol by Bowie too.
Yep. And then disc 3 is basically like a live show from New Haven. I don't know what year it is, but it's got a lot of the songs off of Purple, and then a lot of songs off Core, because that's pretty much those are the only two albums that they had at the time. Yeah, so it's cool, and it's really I have enjoyed listening to that new version. It's always cool sometimes to listen to. Sometimes you get these demos and you're like, whatever, and they can be fun to listen to. I wouldn't say it's made my like regular rotation by any means, but it's cool to listen to once or twice.
Yep, that's fair.
But so getting into the album, starting off with a song like Meat Plow, man, they just kind of just
get right into it.
Dirty and nasty, right? I mean, I don't know exactly what a meat plow is, but that in guitar intro, it sounds pretty meat plowish.
It does, but the thing is, if you listen to the lyrics, I think that the lyrics revolve around the media and the way they cover and maybe exploit is a little heavy, but like exploit rock stars because the lyrics all seem to me to be very centered around that, like how these people are exploited and they just kind of have to deal with it. And the meat plow is like the media.
Yeah. They got these pictures of everything to break us down, to break me down. You know, they make us hate, and we make it bleed. Yeah. I mean, it definitely, just kind of punches right off the beginning. And I think a lot of that too is, it sounds like they received a lot of criticism early on in their career from that first album, which was full of hits. And I think this is kind of a response to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I dig.
Then we move on into Vaseline, which is, of course, probably one of the biggest radio hits on the album. And I think you've already said it's probably you could listen to it over and over.
Oh,
and
God.
Yeah, it's truly a great song, man. With the guitar kind of fading in, and everything.
Just there's something about it to me that like it doesn't get old.
Yeah,
I would put it on.
What is that?
Now.
How did they do that guitar kind of intro?
It's just kind of like
he's doing, or is that a delay?
No, to me it's like it's like holding a note and kind of letting it feed back a little bit and then fading in from that.
Okay.
Fading into that note with the feedback combined. I mean, that's
because it's very unique. Like, I don't think I've heard a song begin like that,
oh, sure.
It's pretty cool. Vaseline definitely one of the top songs, most well recognized on the album. And then we get into Loungefly, dude. And dude, the MTV News, right? Remember?
Yep. Dude, just
like the coolest.
They sampled fucking Loungefly. Yeah, they did. And I always remembered that too. That's really awesome that you bring that up because I don't think a lot of people would remember or recognize that. But hell yeah,
right?
MTV News sampled that Loungefly.
Yeah,
and that's a dark song. But I really like it, and what I like about it is like the not only the lyrics but the changes. I mean, it just goes through these different changes that
it does.
I think would separate it from a lot of other songs.
Yeah, there's definitely some peaks and valleys to the song, and I love the part where it transitions into the acoustic.
Oh yeah,
that is just it's so great. It's so great, and I've seen this performed live or live videos. And they do such a great job of it. Yeah.
See, now me, I could actually play you songs that I've written and recorded, and cite this song in that.
Yeah, right.
Because again, those changes were so just distinct, and that's cool.
Yeah, it is very cool. So then moving on to Interstate Love Song, another one of the popular, well-known played radio hits.
Yep.
Definitely. I don't know. I think Interstate Love Song might have been the first single off this album. But it's truly a great song. Everybody everybody knows it, and it's one that for me, and I know we're not getting into the whole scratch thing yet, but I think I have heard it so many times that it is one that I will, if I'm listening to the album, I will skip from time to time.
I could see that.
Just because just because. I've heard it a ton, but dude, there's just the riff in the beat is just, it's so good, man. It's so good.
Yeah, it is. I mean, to me, it like I know it's from our generation, but I would put that up there as like just a classic rock song. I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, if you're looking for a song to, and you could do this probably with a lot of songs from different bands, but like if there was a Stone Temple Pilots song that you're like, okay, we need this song to kind of define Stone Temple Pilots in the grunge era or something like that. In this time, I think that would probably be the one that I would pick for that. Then we move on to probably one of maybe a little lesser known song by people, and that would be "Still Remains," which is a good. I mean, it's a good song. It's kind of more of a romantic song. I don't know exactly who it's written for, what it's about, but just I like the song, and one of the line that always sticks out for me. Or group of lines is take a bath, I'll drink the water that you leave. If you should die before me, ask if you can bring a friend. To me, that's just so, it's kind of haunting.
It is.
And scary, and it's like a Romeo and Juliet kind of thing.
Sure.
I hear you. And I think even just that, it's kind of always stuck with me. I don't think there's anything, at least to me, musically that stands out in the song. It's just to me, it's just a regular song.
That's okay.
Song. It's got good lyrics. And, and
it doesn't have
sound. To. Yeah. And then we go on here to Pretty Penny. Which I feel like it's not I don't think it was really a single, but this is a song. It is a fan favorite.
Yeah.
And it's one of those ones where I feel like a lot of people like this song, and I don't think it was a single or there was a video or anything.
God, there's something about, like, for me, I guess as a musician, there's something about the dissonance. And the dissonance is like the way those chords that they play just want to tear apart from each other.
Okay.
And when you hear it when they play that song, I mean, they just, you got that, and in that in that last chord, I mean, it just wants to rip itself apart. It's so dissonant, and I think for a lot of people, that's what it was about STP, is like those dissonant chords that really really got them. It got me.
I love this song. I love the way it flows and the way it moves. And I'll fully admit it, I'm just like a sucker for acoustic sound. I just love acoustic guitar. And
it's a nice breakup in the middle of the album. I mean, it's a good spot to have it.
It is, because, I mean, this album is just so unique. I mean, when you think about Vaseline and Loungefly and then Interstate Love Songs, Still Remains, like all these songs are rocking with rock solos and
really
and
electric
stuff like that. Yeah, very electric. And then boom, right in the middle, you drop Pretty Penny, and that breaks it up before going right into Silver Gun Superman, which just the guitar right in front it just drives, man. It punches, and it is kind of a darker song and a darker feel and everything.
But interestingly enough, if you listen to the lyrics, I don't think it's darker at all in terms of the lyrics, because I think in terms of the lyrics, he's like talking to a kid.
Yeah.
So lyrically, it's not dark, but it has this heavy hitting, like just intense
feel to it.
Yeah.
His I need to look into these words a little more. Scott Weiland's lyrics are interesting. Some of them are kind of all over the place, and then he's got some. I mean, I don't have a problem with any of his lyrics. I think they're good and they sound good, and he was a hell of a performer. And I just love his voice.
Really a good singer for all things considered.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely he was. So then we move on to another one of the hits, Big Empty, which a lot of people know.
From the Crow soundtrack,
From the Crow soundtrack. But dude, playing got some slide guitar, I believe, in here, right? Yeah.
And that's one of the things where I think like Robert DeLeo, I feel, is underrated in many ways as a guitarist, because in all of these songs, but especially in like Big Empty and some of the stuff where he plays slide, like, I mean, Christ, think about Daisy on Tiny Music. I mean,
so good,
dude.
Man.
I've played guitar my whole life. I can't do it that good. I could not do it that good. I mean, it's another level, and he's there, and not a lot of people are.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things is with this song. There's a few lines that you and I have really
conversations kill, man.
Yeah, conversations kill. I mean, just
dude, the same thing over and over. It's very well written.
Yeah, it's like anyone in a relationship can relate to that. Who's ever been in a relationship can relate to that. Or it's
absolutely.
It's just like, we're gonna do this again.
Yep,
okay,
here we go.
So you gotta like pick your battles. And then the other line, too much tripping and my soul's worn thin. I mean, that's something, I think, people can really identify with.
Absolutely.
It's just some good lines there. Definitely some good lines. And a good overall song too. Too much tripping and my soul's worn thin.
Unfortunately, one could argue was a little overplayed by MTV at the time, but
I mean, it's
back when they played music videos.
Music videos, it definitely, it's one of those songs that I think probably fell victim to the radio and MTV. Definitely. And then we kind of get into basically the last third of the album here. We move into Unglue. We go from Big Empty, which is a little, I mean, it's got some big
slow
guitar splashes in it,
but it's slow.
It's a little slower. And then Unglued basically just brings up the energy.
Yeah.
And it's like it just rocks. It's
dude,
like
moderation is masturbation.
That's
awesome.
Yeah. I mean, he's a poet. It's like, if you need an STP song to like work out to, like this is a good one.
And then Army Ants and
dude, the Army Ants, the intro, dude, it's so good. I love it. I still want to know though who came up with that riff first, because remember there's that Rage Against the Machine song on the Battle of Los Angeles.
Well, hold on. I'm going to look.
So this is 94.
I want to look this up right now because I tend to think that it was STP.
Yeah, I think. What's this?
Battle of Los Angeles. Released in 1999. Yeah, that was... Okay, sorry.
Okay.
STP. Now, I know those intros are similar, and Tom Morello deserves all due respect with a lot of things, but I do think that STP came up with this one first. If you just look at the timing. And maybe he did that as like an homage or, something.
Sure.
But
that's I mean, dude, it sounds great. It sounds great in both versions of both songs.
It does.
Yeah,
it does. Born of a Broken Man is the one STPs.
That's the one I was thinking of. Yeah, definitely. And I love Army Ants too, because it kind of has peaks and valleys. I like the way it starts off and then it rocks, and then it kind of slows down, and then it rocks again. So I really like the movement of that song. I think it really fits, definitely fits the album. And then we wind up with
Kitchenware and candy bars.
Kitchenware and candy bars. Again, I'm a sucker for acoustic stuff. And
me too.
It's
a great dark kind of, melancholy song. One of my favorites.
Yeah.
But honestly, I maybe I don't hate to say it, but dude, to me, the real gem here is the fucking hidden track. I mean,
the hidden track,
dude. My second album. It's like I don't even know where to go with that. Like it's so awesome.
It is. It's very cool.
It's done perfectly.
Perfectly, yeah. And the way it ends with like the sax kind of it's just dude. It's so cool, man. It's a fun little thing to end the album
like,
with for sure.
I think of being in a band like, okay, so you're a rock band in the 90s and you do this, you do all this like, heavy rock shit. And then you're like, hey, I'm just going to get a lounge singer and we're going to do that. I mean, it's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is. And for Scott Weiland to be able to, it just shows his talent.
No. I don't think Scott Weiland did those vocals, FYI.
Oh, you don't think so?
No.
Oh, all right.
I absolutely do not.
Huh, interesting. We need to look that up. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm going to look up.
I have no idea.
Doesn't really say, but I'm.
Well, yeah. What does it say down at the end?
It really doesn't say a whole lot, but dude, I'm telling you, he did not do the. I would be really hard pressed to believe he pulled off those vocals.
Oh. So here's this. Notes, track 11, Kitchenware and Candy Bars, contains a hidden track named My Second Album, which is a parody of most hidden tracks being unorthodox songs that a band wouldn't usually make. The lounge song was performed by Richard Peterson, a musician who happens to be a big fan of Johnny Mathis, hence the reference to him in the song.
Yes.
So, there you go. All right. Fair enough. All right. I was giving Scott Weiland way too much credit.
Well, not that you wouldn't want to, but I mean... it would be really hard to go into that genre and pull it off. I mean,
but I guess why I thought maybe that was him, because if you look at a song like Atlanta on their number 4 album, he that's a very different sound for his voice, and he pulls it off.
He does, but this is.
But yeah,
that's another level.
I gotcha.
But in Atlanta, I'm sure will be covered on a different podcast, because I definitely want to talk about number 4.
Number 4. Songs like "Glide" and "Heaven and Hot Rods," "Church on Tuesday."
Not appreciating.
No, definitely not. So it's time for the game, my friend.
Yeah, here it goes.
I think I did the honors last time. I think I'll let you go. You go first this time.
Okay. Well,
scratch away.
I guess as I'm looking at this track list, I have to go with Still Remains. And not that Still Remains is not an awesome song, and not that it doesn't say some really intense shit that is it says a lot, but to me, that's the one where if you scratched it off the album, the album still just kicks you in the nuts.
It does. No, I 100% agree. It's is one of my favorite songs on the album, but I totally understand why you would say that, and why I think, to be honest, I think that's the one I think a lot of other people would probably pick too if they were playing this game. Mm-hmm. I do think that because I mean there's a lot of really strong songs on the album. There's just a lot of there is. So I'm not surprised by that at all. I'm probably, this one's going to be probably a little controversial.
Okay.
And it's actually one of the ones that was a single and a big hit, and I like the song a lot. But I find sometimes it's one I will skip over. And I find sometimes I'm just not in the mood for it, and that's Big Empty.
That's not that out of left field, if you ask me. Yeah. I get that.
It's a great song. I love the slide guitar. I talked about some of the words and the lyrics that I really like and I really appreciate. But as I'm listening to the album, sometimes I just like to go from Silver Gun Superman right into Unglued, you know? And dude, I'm not going to apologize for that.
I hear you.
Yeah. So it's, I think that's one. And I don't know if I want to blame radio and MTV for kind of killing it for me, because here's the thing. It hasn't really killed it for Vaseline. Sometimes I will skip over Interstate Love song here and there, but you know, it's just one of those ones where I'm like,
that's an absolutely fair statement.
Yeah, and the album is still great in my opinion, even without that. At the same time, I mean, it is a great song, but I think there's times where it kind of slows it down a little bit too much for me, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to kind of move on to the next one. So, so I think that wraps up our Stone Temple Pilots Purple Scratch a Track. You got Still Remains and I got Big Empty.
Yeah.
So I'm sure I pissed a lot of people off with that one.
Likewise.
Yeah. So, well, we got about 5 or so of these episodes done now. Hope everybody has enjoyed kind of getting on this ride with us and exploring some of these albums. And you know, I think eventually we'll get to a point where we're gonna have to start putting out on social media some, I don't know, Twitter or on. We'll figure something out where we can actually put the albums out, and other people will be able to, you know, give us their scratch tracks. And
that's what I want to hear.
Yeah, I want to hear what other people's tracks are. Because I think we'll get some really, really interesting results. So, so hopefully everybody's enjoyed this episode. We got more coming because, well, there's a lot of albums out there, So, thank you everyone for listening. The Dude and Grim here. We're going to be signing off for the evening, and we'll be back again soon. Take care, everyone.
Scratch a Track is produced by the Dude and Grim. Additional music provided by More, that's ... MORE, and the Tims, TIMNZ. Copyright 2020, The Dude and Grim Show.